What's up, y'all, and welcome into the Jack Vita Show. I'm your host, as always, Jack Vita. We got a very special episode of the show today. So first things first, we're going to talk with 14-year NFL tight end, Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and a one-time NFL All-Pro. Vernon Davis is here. We're going to speak with him at the start of the show. I'm going to ask him a little bit about his playing career. One thing I'm really curious to know more about is his involvement in that iconic Under Armour commercial back when he was coming out of the University of Maryland getting ready for the NFL draft. So we're going to talk about that. And he also has a new TV show coming out. It's called Match Point. So he's going to tell us a little bit more about his transition from playing to acting to now this new project that he has. I'm really excited for that. And then after that, we're going to run through and we're going to break down the NFL Conference Championship games from the weekend. We're going to take an early look at the Super Bowl. And we're also going to probably spend a little bit of time chatting about the Chicago Bears and other NFL teams as well that have found new head coaches, as there have been a flurry of hires in recent days. So we're going to spend some time with that. Michael Marcantonini is going to join me. He's a play-by-play broadcaster, and I got to know him very well out at the Arizona Fall League. Before we get everything going, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel if you guys like what you hear. We're here on YouTube. We also have a podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, leave us a comment. And without much further ado, let's dive into everything and let's get to our conversation with Vernon Davis. Really excited to talk with him. At this time, we are joined by an NFL great, really. 14 years in the league, Super Bowl 50 champion, two-time Pro Bowler, a one-time All-Pro. Vernon Davis, welcome to the show. Great to have you here, my friend.
Oh, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Vernon, you played in the NFL a long time. I'm probably about 10 years younger than you. My introduction to you was in 2006, a very iconic Under Armour commercial. Click, clack. You and AJ Hawk. I mean, really put Under Armour on the map. It was a big moment. How did all that come about? What was that experience like?
Yeah, well, first of all, I went to University of Maryland, so it
Yep.
was low hanging fruit for me. As far as AJ, I guess they were a fan of his, so they brought him on board. But that commercial was, I remember it like it was yesterday. We had a lot of fun on set. It was like kind of like the introduction to our NFL careers. But it was a great journey, and you best to believe my teammates gave me a hard time for that commercial.
Oh, did they now? What'd they say?
Oh yeah, they just gave me a hard time. I mean, it was I remember we had it was like a talent show, Ricky talent show, and then one of the players I forget who it was, but he came in, he had these fake dreads, he had the Under Armour wristbands on, the shorts, uh, pretending to be me in the Click Clack commercial.
It was a great commercial. It was on all the NFL pre-draft coverage. Then the NFL draft, of course, back then it was on Saturday morning, and it would just run all day, Saturday and Sunday. And that was my introduction to you. That was in a lot of ways my introduction to Under Armour. I'm a big Under Armour guy. Love it. That was all of a sudden it just exploded right around that time in 2006. So big fan of Under Armour. Great brand.
That's awesome. I know that their cleats were some of the best. I mean, like we had a hard time. I know my teammate Patrick Willis retired because of his feet. He had a hard time just finding the right cleat, and when your feet go bad, is all bad. And I watched him. He would have 20 to 30 pair of shoes lined up every training camp. But
Wow.
I must say, when trying to find a good cleat, Under Armour was always a good fit, and I'm just elated to be able to, just have them, in my presence.
I'm curious to know, you come into the league, was there one guy, a linebacker or maybe a defensive lineman that hit you and you're just like, welcome to the league? That was a hard hit. That was guys aren't
I would,
hitting like that in college.
I would have to say, I remember my hit by John Lynch.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah, he
yeah.
hit me. It was it was final game of the season, and he hit me, man. I remember getting up and I went to their sideline. Totally forgot everything.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, John Lynch, he was a hard hitter. That's
Yeah, he
not
was
that's
on
a
it.
that's not
Yeah.
a surprising name to hear there. Do you have a really you got a good funny Jim Harbaugh story?
Yeah. Besides him wearing the same khaki pants with the ink stain on the pocket, uh, I remember he came out. I believe we were in training camp, and he came out, and everyone was looking like, "Who's the new guy? Who's the new quarterback?" Turn around, it was Jim. Jim Harbaugh came out and started going with the twos, second stream guys, and I mean, he was adamant about it. He was just charisma, his character, everything that he stands for, man. We had a great ride with that dude, man. We're very thankful for him to be able to come into the organization and turn the program around the way he did. If he wasn't there, we wouldn't have been able to have the run that we had during that time. So it was great to be coached under Jim Harbaugh and his coaching staff. So it's something that I'll take with me for the rest of my life.
And as of like a few hours ago, Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll coaching in the same division once again.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. I look forward to seeing the battles.
Yeah, you guys had some great battles with the Seahawks, and now we'll get to see it again. NFC West to AFC West. Vernon, you've made a transition in your post playing career. You're now acting, entertainment. You've done some hosting.
Mm.
First thing I'd love to know is when you get out in front of a camera, does it give you the same kind of butterflies or feeling that you did on game day, or is it a little different?
No, I think it's a little different. It's all preparation when it comes to acting, just like football. Football was all preparation. It's you want to be exact before you get in front of the cameras and the fans, the stadium on Sundays. You want to make sure you have everything. I used to always make sure my catching. I was catching the balls over my shoulder, forward, sideways, toe tapping, you name it, because I wanted to be super prepared. The game should be slowed down. It should be easier, much easier than practice if you practice at a high level. And just like acting, when I'm in the cam in front, when I'm preparing, I know I may be shooting a month from now. I have that whole window within that month to plan, work on my choices, and prepare that character for that film.
What drew you to this world of entertainment?
Well, my granddad was an artist, and I went to school for fine arts. So I found that there's always a correlation when it comes to the arts, whether it's dancing, singing, painting, um, you name it. It's just some kind of correlation. You might figure out later on that, hey, you can do this, you can do that, but that's just the way it works. So when I look back on my journey, I'm like, wow, okay, now I see why I decided to tap into this space.
Tell us about your new project. You got a new show. It's Match Point, uh, premiering February 11th. You and Omar Bolden. What are
Mm.
we in for here with this?
Yeah, Match Point is cool. It's about two tennis players who retired and started podcasts. Everything gone wrong. It's a mockumentary comedy, and we get a chance to just see some hilarious content with some hilarious guests and hosts. It's going to be it's pretty cool project. I'm excited about it. I had a lot of fun. I know Omar did as well. But it's one thing to film some content like this, but to do it with people that you know, people you're aware of, and people that you care about.
Yeah, I think it. I saw the first couple episodes, and I really think that it comes across that you guys, one, have a great friendship, but two, like this is a passion project for you guys. You look like you're having a lot of fun on camera. You're cracking each other up, and that's what it's all about, like you said.
That's what it's all about.
So we're excited to watch that. And it's really for those who are curious. It's a little bit of a takeoff and a mockumentary of this whole podcasting sphere. It's kind of like podcasting's gotten a little. We're overdue to kind of poke some fun at us podcasters, right? Like everybody's got a podcast now.
Everybody has a podcast.
You also hosted for the challenge on MTV, right? You did that once.
I did. Yeah, I was a part of that. I hosted the reunion episodes. Whenever there was a reunion, I think I did two reunions so far. That was a lot of fun. Lot of fun, but a lot of wait. Hold up. Let him talk. Let him talk. No, let her go.
Did that prepare you at all for this character that you're going to be
No, it
playing?
didn't prepare me for this character, but it prepared me for a lot of stuff, man. Being able to, you know, orchestrate like just an entire, just like cast, an audience. I mean, you have like people on this side, people on this side. It's just like you're controlling it. You know, it was pretty cool. It was a lot of work, but it's pretty cool after the fact. I felt like I was, I learned a lot. Also, I felt like there was nothing that I couldn't do if I could do that, because that was pretty tough.
How much reality TV had you watched at that point? Were you a fan of the challenge?
Yeah, I was a fan of the challenge. I knew about Fessy and all those guys. I was definitely a fan. It was something exciting about watching a show where they get a chance to compete, and you learn later on. I mean, this is not fake. This is real. I mean, these guys are uh, really getting into it. There's real drama. There's real friendship. There's there's people who are turning their backs on people that they once cared about. They're supposed to be friends with. I mean, this is real stuff. So it's always those reality TV shows are very entertaining.
If they did another champs versus stars type of season, would you be willing to go and compete against those guys?
Champs versus stars, yeah, count me in, baby. Let's go.
Who from the NFL or pro sports do you think has a good future in the world of entertainment? Who could be a good actor? Who could kind of follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I think Travis Kelsey is pretty good. I think he's going to be a star in the world of acting. I think I've seen quite a few things that he's been able to do. He's also part of this project, this group called Players Media Group that I'm a part of as well. He did a few. Actually created some content with those guys, so I feel like he definitely has what it takes to be in the entertainment space.
Will we be seeing any potential cameos from other guys from the world of sports in Match Point?
Yeah, absolutely. As we continue to go on and film more episodes, I think you'll see a lot of people that you're familiar with.
All right, so the show is called Match Point. It's February 11th, and it's on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and what else should we know?
Um, Other than you know, getting ready for a hell of a ride, I say just be ready for the unexpected, I guess.
All right, well, Vernon, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the show. It was great talking with you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Well, it was great chatting with Vernon Davis. I got a lot of fine memories of watching him play growing up. That iconic Under Armour commercial, of course. It was fun to hear some of his thoughts. Good luck to him. Wish him good luck on his new project. And you guys can check out Match Point February 11th on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. Now we're going to talk some football. We're gonna break down a little bit of the conference championship games from the weekend. We'll probably look ahead to the Super Bowl. So at this time, I'm going to bring in our next guest, and this is someone who I've absolutely been dying to do a podcast with for months now, and we're finally making it happen. He's a play-by-play broadcaster. He's done a lot of minor league games, Arizona Fall League, college sports as well, college athletics. Please welcome Michael Marcantonini.
Hey, what's up, Jack? Thanks for having me, man. Really excited that we finally made this happen, getting on a podcast together.
It's great having you here. Michael and I really got to know each other out at the Fall League. He was running PR. It's not very often that the journalists and the PR guys are hanging out with each other and having sleepovers, but we did. We had some
I'm break
sleepovers.
I'm breaking barriers. The connection between the PR broadcasters, writers. I'm breaking barriers, man.
Well, we appreciate everything you did out there. You made our jobs a lot easier, helped facilitate a lot of interviews and articles and stories that us journalists were writing out there. And I got to cover a couple of stories from your city of Philadelphia. Perfect timing to have you on with the Eagles winning, and we're going to chat about that. We spent Thanksgiving together. That was fun.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, watching your Bears almost take down the Lions. Yeah, I mean, crushing for you, of course, but I was only locked in because of fantasy football implications for that game. But yeah, no, that was a nice low key Thanksgiving, watching some football. Got some pool time in that day, but yeah, man, the fall league season was incredible. Not only getting to do all that, but making connections and building friendships with a bunch of people, of course, you included.
And we're both repping Fall League today. We got our Fall League merch on. Big fans of the Fall League. One last thing before we dive into baseball or football, I should say. What's give us a little pitch on the Fall League. What's something that I think a lot of baseball fans don't even know about it? What is the Fall League and what makes it so fun?
So the best way that I can describe the Fall League is that it is like the best of minor league baseball, and the players that go out to the Fall League are competing against each other in more of a chill setting. There's so much pressure during a minor league season. Look, these guys are all trying to get to the big leagues and fight for positions. There's hundreds of guys in each system and only 26 spots on a big league roster. So there's a lot of pressure consistently throughout a minor league season. And there is pressure in the Fall League because a lot of these guys are on full display, maybe a last chance in their organization in some cases, but it's a lot more chill because, look, you're out in Arizona playing in great weather, just relaxing, getting some extra reps. Maybe you're a guy coming back from an injury or something like that. So it's I think the best of minor league baseball talent-wise, and also getting the guys in a relaxed environment. It's almost like an all-star game every single day. Players are wearing their home and road jerseys from the big league organization that they're a part of. They're not wearing, just the same team jersey with the Fall League team names. They wear the Fall League hats, but it's their team pants and jersey. So it's like you're watching an all-star game every day, and it's really cool to see these guys get better as players, but also make names for themselves, with fans and the media and all that. So it's a great product, and I think it's really cool to see these guys, for some of them, the last step of the minor leagues to get to the big leagues.
So your Eagles are headed back to the Super Bowl to play the Chiefs once again. It's a rematch. We'll start on the AFC side. Chiefs, 32-29. Were you surprised at all by this outcome?
Not really, not in the least bit. I really thought that this could be the Bills' year, just because from a Chiefs perspective, it's so hard to continuously win, and the standard that they've set for themselves, it's hard to match that every single year. And look, it's whether you keep the same core every year or not, the pieces around that core change every year, and there are certain factors that change from year to year. So it's tough to do what they're doing. I mean, we're witnessing greatness and we're witnessing history. But yeah, not surprised. But what did surprise me, though, was the fact that there were so many big calls that just didn't go the Bills' way, and so many things in the game that didn't go the Bills' way.
That surprised you?
It did, because I thought all week, because people were talking about how unsurprising it was that the Chiefs would get all the calls, and it's the refs and you're not just playing the Chiefs, you're playing the refs too. I thought that it was going to be a little bit more clean and there weren't going to be as many controversial calls, but of course there were. Now, again, this is me talking after watching a lot of this on replay and watching the game after it was actually played, because I was too busy partying in the streets of Philly after my Eagles got the dub. So, I mean, I'm watching this all on replay. I'm not seeing it live and reacting to it live, but not surprised by the outcome. A little bit surprised that it did come down to, some things that just didn't go the Bills' way, because I thought that this may be their time.
Two things can be true at the same time. There were some atrocious calls, and we'll go through. There are three of them that really stick out to me, and we'll go through them one by one. And Josh Allen had a moment there, and he failed to deliver. Both those things can be true. So we're going to start with the officiating. The first one that I think was just the most egregious call in maybe these entire playoffs was the Xavier Worthy catch.
Mm-hmm.
They reviewed it. Didn't they review it?
Yeah.
They reviewed it, and you see the ball hitting the ground on replay review, and neither player had firm possession of it, and that was a catch.
Yeah. What's so tough about that is that replay is there for a reason. That's the only reason they have it, is to be able to go back and look and get things like that right after the call on the field wasn't right. And they had every angle they needed. They didn't need to go to 4 or 5 different angles. I mean, it's right there. I'm looking at it. The ball's on the ground. And especially, I mean, the NFL, think about you go years past with all those big plays where a receiver catches a pass, makes like 3 or 4 moves, a couple steps, different directions, and the ball comes out of his hand and they say, oh, that wasn't a catch, incomplete, didn't make a football move. It's like, well, how many football moves does he have to make? 6, 7,
Yeah.
8? And then something like that where it's pretty clear the ball's touching the ground and that one's a catch. I don't completely understand that.
Did not understand that one. That one was fishy, okay? And look, the great thing is we're baseball guys, so we don't have to carry water for the NFL. We can say whatever we want about the NFL.
And that's why I love coming on the show, to get a chance to talk some football, because we're so used to diving into baseball, but now we're letting it loose.
Yeah, there's certain things about Major League Baseball that I think you and I might not want to say on a podcast, but football, hey, we don't have to hold anything back.
Fair game.
The thing is, people, they're fans, and they've noticed this throughout the season. I think it really goes back to the first one that I saw was 2 years ago in that AFC title game with Joe Burrow, when it looked like the Bengals were going to win that game, and they called that roughing the passer when Mahomes got hit going out of bounds, and that was really a season-changing call. That was put the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And that was the first moment that I think a lot of people, and there were some other calls in that game too. That was the first moment where I think a lot of people were like, man, like the NFL wants the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had last year, where we've got this whole Taylor Swift addition to the team. Taylor Swift brings in a lot of female fans, a lot of them. Young girls, some women that are grown women. I know from you and I both substitute teach.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've talked with kids and they're like, oh yeah, I'm interested. 5th grade, 6th grade girls who are interested in the Chiefs because of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. That brings in a whole new demographic that really wasn't there with the NFL. A lot of people who weren't sports fans, they're coming in. So there's the Taylor Swift element now. And then, I think there's the other last component of this is that people are wanting to see a new team in there. I think people are maybe getting bored of the Chiefs. So anytime that they see something that looks a little fishy, they're going to call rigged on it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Look, and I don't think it's wrong as a fan to have some fatigue of seeing the same team every year. Look, of course, if it's your team, like, everybody up in the New England area, when the Patriots had their dynasty, look, they're not going to get tired of seeing a parade every year. The Lakers, over the years, Celtics, Yankees back in the day, whatever it is, like the fans of that team won't get, viewership fatigue. But look, as just a general fan and putting your team aside, it's fun when it's a different team every year. Even if a team wins back to back, like let's give somebody else a shot. Like we don't need to see 3 in a row, even if it is history and even if it is greatness. We want to see different players play in the biggest games. Like, I'm a huge Eagles fan, and yeah, I'm pumped that my Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and I would not be upset if they were in the Super Bowl every year. But from looking at the AFC side of things, like, yeah, I want to see Josh Allen play in a Super Bowl. I want to see Lamar Jackson on that stage. I want to see Joe Burrow back in the Super Bowl and get another shot. It gets a little old when you're watching the same core players and the same team there every year, because a lot of times it's just the same result.
I think there's a certain segment of the population that's always going to end up hating teams that are successful. Like that's always going to happen. You could have the most likable player as the star of a team. I don't know who that is. Who's the most likable guy in the NFL right now?
I mean, I'm telling you, if
Saquon?
it's not Saquon, he's top 3, I would think. But
He is
Saquon,
top 3.
yeah, he might be number 1. I'm telling you. Yeah.
He's a great pick. So you could have Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl, and there are a lot of people that are fatigued by the Eagles, and the Eagles haven't won one since the Nick Foles era.
Yeah.
Calling it the Nick Foles era. I mean, that was 7 years ago now, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
And, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I think that there's always going to be a certain segment of the population that once you start winning, eventually people are going to turn on you and they're going to root for your failure. But I also think that there is something with this Chiefs team that, for me personally, I don't look at this team the way that I looked at the Patriots. When the Patriots were in all these Super Bowls, I actually kind of loved it. I thought it was dramatic. They gave us amazing games. The thing with the Patriots was they were fun to hate. They were a team that they were fun to root against. You had to tune in to watch them lose if you hated them. There was a certain point where I came around, I started rooting for Brady. Brady became one of my all-time favorites. He was just the GOAT. He was great. But Belichick was the evil emperor. It was the evil empire. It was a greater cast of characters than I think. And with the Chiefs, I don't really feel like they're fun to hate. Like they're just kind of like, I don't know, Mahomes is great, but is there a reason to hate Mahomes?
No,
is there a reason to hate Andy Reid?
Yeah, I think the distinction between that Patriots dynasty and this Chiefs dynasty is that the Patriots were extremely hateable. This Chiefs team is just annoying that they keep doing it. Like, all year they weren't the best team in the NFL. They weren't even maybe one of the best 3 teams in the NFL, but they got hot late. I mean, Travis Kelce wasn't having a great year. Mahomes isn't throwing for 304 touchdowns every game like he was a few years back. The receiver-wise, they don't have that stud number 1 best in the NFL receiver anymore. They have a good supporting cast of receivers. But yeah, I mean, Belichick, I think you look at the 2 head coaches. Belichick, no matter how you look at it, if you're not a Patriots fan or weren't a Patriots fan, he's just not that likable of a guy. Never smiling, always upset about something, all the scandals. But Andy Reid is an extremely likable guy. Even Eagles fans, we didn't like that he couldn't get over the hump in Philly, but we appreciate Andy Reid maybe even more now that he is doing this with the Chiefs. But dude's on State Farm commercials making jokes. He's always talking about how much he loves cheeseburgers and ham sandwiches. But, the way he gives players second chances throughout their careers. I mean, you go back to with the Eagles, Michael Vick's the big name that comes to mind. And then with the Chiefs, of course, giving players second chances, to Kareem Hunt, Matt Araiza, the punter. There's some other guys that I'm missing, but he is a people person. Belichick is not. And that's why I think it makes the Chiefs a little bit more likable and they're not hateable. But at the same time, even after all of that, I would like to see somebody else represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
I think the Chiefs are just kind of flavorless at a certain point. It becomes a little stale. It's like some flavor of a food that you just keep eating, and it's like, this doesn't really, I don't know, I'm tired of it. And I mean, Travis Kelce, I think there's enough people that don't like Travis Kelce because they're fatigued. Honestly, I think it's more of a fatigue thing. It's like, do we need the Kelce brothers in every single commercial? Yeah. Do we need, the Taylor Swift stuff? So I get it. I totally get it. I just don't. To me, it's kind of like, okay, we've seen this before. The Chiefs aren't exciting to me. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and they were just a few years ago. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that everybody wanted the Chiefs to be the team that ended the Patriots dynasty. They were, but we didn't necessarily all need to go from one dynasty to the next and even have them overlap a little bit. I mean, how often in sports do we see that? I mean, very rare. Look at any sport out there to go from one dynasty to the next and have them, the 2 stars on each team kind of overlap throughout their careers. Sometimes you go 100 years before you see something like that again.
100%. That's a really great point. I think a couple other things here. One, people don't like Mahomes' flopping.
Yeah.
And, I don't like it. I mean, it's football. That's one of the things I like about football is it's a tough sport. I don't like seeing guys trying to work the officials or whine about calls. So I think that's another element. And then, I mean, I think just the fact that they have benefited from calls. I think
Mhm.
that's something where people are just like, the Chiefs are great. They don't really need this kind of help.
Yeah.
So the other two calls that it was the Xavier Worthy one. Then it was the Bills had the lead, and it was third down and short, and they got a terrible spot on that one. That one looked like a first down on a third down. Then they do the fourth down, and it looked like Josh Allen got the first down, and they spotted that one short. So I think those two with the Worthy catch that they ruled, those were the three that I think were big plays. The Worthy one extended a drive. The other two stopped a drive from Buffalo. And I mean, they played a huge factor in this. I think people are rightfully upset about those calls.
Yeah, and I mean, just watching NFL games throughout my life, and again, baseball is my number one sport. I'm more locked in every way to baseball, but I watch football pretty closely, and very rarely do you see a third or fourth and short type of play like that, where it's a QB sneak or whatever. The quarterback's close to that first down marker or the line or whatever, and then they not give it to him. It's almost like when in doubt, give him the first down because, hey, he's close enough. The quarterback's bunched up in a big pile of bodies. How can we say for sure that he didn't get it? Especially because the chains on the sideline, it's like, really, it's 2025 and we're still using those? Don't we have something better technology-wise to show the first down, what is and what's not? But yeah, any way you looked at it on replay, especially the side angle, Allen got that first down, and I don't think it was particularly close. Like I thought it was close enough where the ball's across the line. All you need is just a little piece of the tip of the ball. But it looked like convincingly he pushed it on a second effort even further across. So yeah, that's one where if you're a Bills fan or just a non-Chiefs fan, you can be pretty upset about that.
Now, we got to get into the nuts and bolts of why the Bills lost this game. Because with all of that said, I still think the Chiefs deserve to win this game, and they won it. And I understand, again, I understand the frustration with the officiating. I would like to see a better job too. But I do think the Chiefs deserve to win this. And I think one thing, we'll start with this because we're going off that Josh Allen play. How many times are you going to run the same QB sneak on fourth and short? Like, it feels like if you and I were playing Madden, which we haven't done yet, but I'm sure we'll do at some point, if you just kept running the same play that I can't stop, eventually I'm just going to clamp down and I'm going to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, and unless it's a play that's as good as the Eagles' tush push or brotherly
Yeah.
shove, whatever you want to call it, you have to mix it up a little bit. Like, I mean, and that's again another thing. Like, I don't understand how the other 31 teams in the league can't do the exact same thing that the Eagles do in those situations. You know how to do it, you know how to line up, and they just don't do it the same way. But that's a good point. And to your point about the Chiefs still deserving to win the game, even with some of the stuff that went on, that's why they keep winning, is because they don't make the mistakes that other teams make. They don't a game doesn't end and they don't sit there and be like, man, like if we had just executed here, if we just hadn't turned the ball over here. They don't do that. And that's why they win.
One thing that I can't understand is why no one runs play action on the goal line anymore.
That works too. Yeah.
Like they went for two twice in this game. They lost 2 points there. The Chiefs end up going for two at one point because the Bills failed to convert, and they get their 2 point, and that's a 3 point difference right there. This is a tie game if the Bills take those extra points, because in that case the Chiefs aren't going for. They're not going to end up going for. It's going to be 31-31. They scored the same number of touchdowns, the same number of field goals, and when I saw them line up, even though they were 1 yard out, I did not think they were going to convert that 2 point. And I feel like teams have just gotten really bad at 2 point conversions. They overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody runs the receiver pick plays anymore. No one does that. They used to be unstoppable. No one runs play action anymore. Play action's like an unstoppable play on the goal line.
Yeah, and I guess the pick play, I think after the Malcolm Butler interception against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, maybe teams got a little gun shy on that. But yeah, I think overthinking is a good term with it, because so often, whether it's a 2 point conversion or a third or fourth and short, like a yard or two to get at the goal line, teams always want to throw these passes to like the running back sideways. Like you have to go forward to score. Why are you throwing it sideways at an awkward angle for them to have to catch flat-footed or going not towards the goal line? And then, defender's just going to come up and eat them up. So yeah, play action where you get your quarterback moving, but then everybody else going forward. Plays like that, or to your point about playing Madden, that one where on one side you've got a tight end going out, on the other side you have two tight ends or a tight end and a receiver going the other way, where they create space and separate themselves from a defender. Like easy plays like that used to get it done all the time.
And what's with the shotgun on the 1 yard line? What's up with that one? You're just taking away an advantage that's been given to you.
We need 1 yard. Let's have the quarterback stand on the 4 and or do like a draw play or something. Like punch it in.
I don't understand it. That was another spot where the game was decided. And then the last part of why I say the Bills lost this game was there came a point in the fourth quarter where the Chiefs got the ball and they had a chance to take the lead. And they got to like the 50 with 6 minutes left. And I'm like, they're going to score too quickly. They're going to leave too much time on the clock. This felt like one of those games where whoever gets the ball last is going to win. And I thought that was poor clock management by the Chiefs. They scored way too quickly. I would have run a lot more time off the clock. I don't want the Bills getting a chance to drive down the field. The Bills ended up getting the ball back with 3.5 minutes left. And I'm thinking this is Josh Allen's moment. And there have been a lot of times that I know some people have said, is he clutch? And ask that question, is Josh Allen clutch? And while I have doubted Josh Allen in those situations before, I thought they were going to do this. I really did. I'm like, this is all going to come to fruition. They're going to have their moment. They're due. They've lost. This ended up being the fourth playoff game that they've now lost to the Chiefs. 0-4 in the playoffs. They're 0-3 before that. It felt like this, if ever, for Buffalo, with all the bad luck in the history of the franchise and all the shortcomings, this is the opportunity to rid themselves of that and move into a new era. And they didn't get it done.
Yeah, it's been really tough. It's crazy that they just haven't been able to get over the hump in the playoffs. I saw a tweet from Adam Schefter yesterday, and I don't know if it's just their matchups all time or just their matchups all time in the playoffs, those four. But like Allen versus Mahomes, it's a combined score where Allen's only been outscored by 5 points, 245 to 240. And it's just so lopsided wins and losses in favor of Mahomes and the Chiefs, which is crazy. And I mean, Allen has been clutch. He showed that he was clutch the year that the Bills, had a victory just snatched away from them. The Chiefs had 13 seconds left, and 2 plays got them into field goal range, and they end up winning that game. Yeah. That should have never happened.
3 years ago,
he was clutch enough to get them to the point where they were on the doorstep of the Super Bowl with seconds left in that game, and special teams and the defense let him down. So that's tough. But really, what it comes down to is, did you win the game or not? And Allen just hasn't done it in the playoffs. But I mean, that dude's a stud. You can't say that he's not. And I think that he will have his shot to win a Super Bowl, maybe more at some point.
My main takeaway after that game was like, there are just certain franchises where it feels like, is it ever gonna happen?
Yeah.
This felt like the year for Buffalo. It felt like the year for Detroit. And they both lost within a week of each other. And that was it. And it felt like 2 tortured fan bases. And this was maybe the season for both of them. Ended up not being a season for either of them.
Yeah, I mean, with the Lions, it did throughout the season feel like it was their year. But my Eagles were going to take care of business regardless of who they play. Let me just throw that out there. But yeah, I mean, the Lions, they're at home as the 1 seed. They get stunned by the Commanders. They just looked off, like almost like they weren't ready for that. But yeah, and talking about it, could it have been the Bills' year? Yeah, things were lining up for it to be the Bills' year because they got over the Ravens in the previous round. And to be honest, if I think a lot of us would have just loved to see that as the AFC Championship game instead of the divisional matchup. But okay, you get through the multi-time MVP Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and that Ravens defense, and you get the Chiefs, who are good and they're peaking at the right time, but they still don't look like the Chiefs that we've seen win 3 previous Super Bowls. They don't look as good. So yeah, it felt like this was a golden opportunity, and it just didn't happen.
And the thing that I like about the NFL is it's not the NBA. If this was the NBA, it'd be like, oh, Josh Allen, this team's never going to do it. It's time to move on. Are you blowing up the team? Are you trading somebody? Whatever. I feel like that happens a lot with NBA when a team comes up short. But it's really hard to win a championship. I mean, only one team is going to win each year. And I mean, to be one of the last 4 teams remaining, to beat Baltimore, I mean, like you said, I think they're gonna be there. They're gonna get more opportunities. It's just a matter of capitalizing.
Yeah, they'll have to make some changes. Look, every year, regardless of if you win or lose, there's changes to a roster. But for the teams that don't win, especially for the teams that have been so close and still can't get it done, I feel like there needs to be a sizable change somewhere. Now, I'm not saying go fire the coach or fire McDermott or anybody on his staff or completely shake up the roster, but a couple tweaks here and there. I mean, look what happened with the Eagles last year. It was just a straight up collapse last year, losing 7 of their last 8, getting embarrassed in the playoffs. Just turmoil in the locker room. All the rumors going around. They bring in Saquon Barkley. They bring in a guy who was playing on the Saints special teams, and now he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL, Zach Bond. You bring in a couple different coordinators, so you don't shake up the entire organization, but you bring in some really good complementary pieces, and it makes all the difference. Now the Eagles are back in the Super Bowl. Maybe the Bills add 1 or 2 more pieces. I think they could probably use another wide receiver. Does it have to be a top 5 receiver in the NFL? No, because I think Allen can make anybody better. But it would really help to have a stud guy that you can go up top to in the corner of the end zone or chuck a deep bomb. A guy like Tyreek Hill, who wants out of Miami, he'd fit in really well there. He'd fit in well anywhere. T. Higgins wants to get paid. Can the Bengals afford to pay both him and Jamar Chase, or will they? Go after one of those guys, and maybe that's the difference. James Cook's an absolute star, and I think they're going to continue to utilize him and the other backs that they have. Maybe add a couple extra pieces on defense, shore up the lines, and this is a Super Bowl team.
Very well could be. We're going to talk some birds now.
Yes, sir.
Eagles,
I've been waiting.
back in the Super Bowl. Truthfully, there isn't a reason to go dive deep into the nuts and bolts of this game, as the Eagles just dominate 55-23. I'm going to ask you this, though. I'll start with my thoughts. I picked the Eagles to win the NFC coming into the playoffs, and I didn't hear anyone outside of Philadelphia making that pick. I mean, I am in the Midwest. There's probably a little more, maybe there's a little more NFC North bias, but it sort of just felt like nationally this Eagles team was a little bit disrespected, a little bit slept on. They have a fantastic defense, and the fact, look, you talked about it, they were just here 2 years ago. They had a great start to last year, and then they just collapsed at the end of the year. But everything I felt like I heard all year was like, Sirianni's weird. People are like, he's weird. He's not a great coach. Jalen Hurts is overrated. They're not that good. They're soft, whatever. And then I think we even saw it this past week. I mean, everyone was picking Detroit. Detroit loses. And I feel like it was the Jaden Daniels story, and there were a lot of people who were picking the Commanders for that upset. Did you feel that way?
I did. And I was actually pretty surprised that all the analysts, the major networks, were picking the Commanders to win this game. It wasn't like it was 90-10 in favor of Washington, but you're looking at the screen on ESPN, and 3 of the 4 analysts on a set are picking the Commanders. And I'm thinking, like, I know a lot of those analysts, either when they were players or as members of the media, have been in Lincoln Financial Field for a playoff game, or heard from somebody what it's like, or see how much talent is on the Eagles roster. I'm stunned that many analysts picked the Commanders to win that game, because as good as Jaden Daniels is, he's a rookie quarterback going into that hostile road environment with a roster that, while it is good and young, it was inferior to the Eagles in so many different ways. And just knowing the role that the Eagles were on with how well the defense has played all year, number one defense in the NFL. And I think every week they just were continued to be doubted. And the run game with Saquon and Hurts. And, hey, if Hurts, can throw the ball, that's even better because they're relying on the run. But if he can throw it effectively, then they're really hard to stop. So I was really surprised how much love the Commanders were getting in terms of win or lose that game. I get the hype, but it felt like it should have been one of those things all week where the analysts who follow the game closer than anybody should have been like, yeah, this team's great. It's not their year. This game, it's going to be the Eagles all the way. And that's exactly how it played out. So a little surprised. But yeah, once the Lions were out of the picture, I understand a lot of people picking the one-seeded Lions at home and all that. But once they were out of the picture, I mean, the Eagles were not losing this game, like by any means.
Yeah, I thought that Washington should have been looked at as a pretty heavy underdog in this game. And I don't even know what the spread was or whatever, but I thought that. I thought Philly's going to win this game comfortably. I didn't think they're going to win by 32 points, but I mean, maybe so. I don't know. I think that Sirianni's got a lot of bulletin board material with this kind of nobody believes in us, nobody's respecting us kind of thing. And that's a good place for a team to be.
And he's a bulletin board material kind of guy. Like some people can say he's petty, or in some cases I've heard that he's a little bit soft, that little things get to him. But I think if you look at it from this perspective is, hey, look, sure, let the little things get to you enough that, yeah, it's bulletin board material, not that it's going to eat away at you and live rent-free in your head, but to let it be motivation. And he's not going to let those guys not use that as motivation. Look, he's going to say, hey, look, you see the screen on ESPN and NFL Network. Everybody's got the Commanders up there over you guys. So yeah, I think and just being from Philadelphia and growing up and being raised in and around this city, if somebody's going to disrespect us and slight us, we're taking that as fuel. And we're not going to let you forget about it after we use that as fuel to win or get an advantage, whatever.
Yeah, that is Philly. That's very true. I think one other takeaway, and I think it's just like this is something we always do in the media. It's just like we overreact a lot to 1 year of success with a quarterback. I understand. By all means, if you're a Commanders fan, you should be excited that you have Jayden Daniels. I mean, it's better to have Jayden Daniels on your team than if you don't have Jayden Daniels on your team. But there was so much conversation coming into this game where it's like he's already arrived as an elite quarterback. And how often do you see guys take a little bit of a step back in that second year when defenses have a whole offseason to plan and prep against, to know some tendencies to try to shut down some of their weak strengths, make them have to go to some of their weaknesses? I mean, look at C.J. Stroud in year 2. The conversation was very similar with Stroud a year ago. Colin Kaepernick was someone who, after year 1, we were kind of talking about, like, man, this guy could be the best quarterback in the whole league. And I mean, he had a decent career, but he didn't end up reaching the heights that we thought he would. And there are probably a lot of other examples. But, I'm a Bears fan, so I have to say this. But there's so much dialogue right now about, oh, the Bears really screwed up that pick. They should have taken Jayden Daniels. There's a lot of time left here. There's a lot of time. We can't make our decisions off year 1.
Yeah, recency bias, it's a real thing, and it's crazy how quickly somebody's opinion will change based off one game or one playoffs or one season. Jayden Daniels very well may be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, talent-wise, but he hasn't proven it throughout a longer period of time. And that's not his fault. It's his rookie season. He hasn't had the chance to do it yet. But once everybody goes from, oh, it's too soon, or this team's a year or two ahead of schedule, or yeah, he's great, but it's not his time yet, to then, oh, wow, he won a big game he wasn't supposed to. Now he is the man. He's going to continue to win every single week, every single year. It's crazy how quick it flips. So you really have to, look at it through the wider lens, like you were just talking about. But it's way too early to judge. But I do think that Daniels and the Commanders are going to be a problem for years, but it just was just a little bit too early this year.
Division could be tough if the Cowboys figure things out. If the Cowboys figure things out with the new hire, I mean, if you could end up having 3 pretty good teams in that division.
Yeah, I mean, historically, the NFC East has been one of the best divisions in football for decades. It wasn't until I think the Eagles won the division last year, or maybe it was the Cowboys. I can't remember, but you rarely see a repeat NFC East champion.
Yeah, I think they play that playoff game in Tampa last year.
They did. So yeah, so they didn't win the division. They blew it. So yeah, again, it's been forever since we saw the same team win the NFC East 2 years in a row.
Let's touch on this Super Bowl matchup. I mean, one thing I will say, I'm kind of glad that Jason Kelce's not playing. I mean, we're still gonna get a million Jason Kelce commercials. We're still going to get, you know what we could really use? We could use more Jason Kelce commercials, more Matthew McConaughey commercials, and more Snoop Dogg commercials, right? That's what we really want.
I mean, really, you could fill the entire Super Bowl telecast with just that. And it's not an exaggeration.
Those are like the 3 guys who are in all the commercials, and Mahomes. And
yeah,
I'm not tired of seeing Mahomes, honestly. Like, I don't have Mahomes fatigue with the commercials, because it's like, he's the best player in the league right now. He's the most decorated player. He should be in all the commercials.
Yeah, well, the State Farm commercials are incredible, too. I mean, with him, Kelce, Reed, I mean, they're incredibly funny, and they're all unique in their own way. So, yeah, give me all of those. I just want to see somebody else win the chip.
That's a good line right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, we don't have the Kelce brothers storyline. It's a different matchup in that regard. Eagles get a second crack here at things. We're in New Orleans. What are the kind of the storylines heading into this game? It's the rematch.
Yeah, I mean, well, just real quick off your point about the Kelces, the one storyline with that is Jason going to roll up to this game wearing Eagles colors, or is he going to be wearing Chiefs colors? Look, it's his team that he played his entire career with. His wife is from Philly, and she's an Eagles fan through and through. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame as an Eagle. Is he going to roll up wearing Eagles gear? Is he going to be wearing Chiefs gear to support his brother Travis, or is he going neutral? I mean, I know he did say on the New Heights podcast that hypothetically, this was a while back, he said that he'd be repping for the Eagles. But now that it's actually playing out like this, we'll see what happens. So that's a big
opportunity there for like Corso headgear kind of reveal on ESPN.
Yeah, so that's a pop culture. That's a pop culture storyline for sure.
Yeah.
But
he's going to milk that. He's going to milk that. It's going to be. He will make that a big moment. I bet he shows up in the Eagles stuff because how is he going to show up in Philly wearing a Chiefs something to that Super Bowl?
So I think it either has to be repping Eagles gear or just go neutral. I know Kylie is going to be wearing Eagles stuff because last year when Jason and Kylie were in the suite at the Super Bowl, she was wearing red to support Travis and the Chiefs, but it wasn't Chiefs gear. She said, like, I'll wear the colors as long as they're not playing the Eagles, but it's not going to be another team's logo. Like, she just won't do it as a Philly diehard. So she'll be repping the Birds. But other than that, like actually on the field, coaching. I think coaching is going to be a big storyline because the team that wins the Super Bowl, it's usually the coach that doesn't outcoach himself. I think that's always a big storyline. Andy Reid's won 3 Super Bowls. He's been to 5. This will be his 6th. So he's got the experience. Sirianni's been to 1. He lost it to Reid. It was an incredible game on both sides. I don't think you can fault Sirianni for that one, but that will be a storyline. The more experienced coach versus the less experienced coach. But the way that Sirianni has evolved as a head coach over the last couple of years, I think that plays a big role. And, Andy Reid, it's just going to be same old, same old. He's not going to – I don't think he'll make decisions that would lose the Chiefs the game. I don't think we'll see that from either coach. But I think coaching will be a big storyline. That's the first one that jumps out at me.
Do you have a pick?
Of course I got a pick. I already got the headgear on. I got the Eagles hat on. So, of course, I'm going with my Birds. They were my Super Bowl pick going into the playoffs. I had Eagles over Ravens, but we'll go Eagles over Chiefs. Man, it's always tough with the score. I'm going to go Eagles 37, Chiefs 31.
I'm also picking the Chiefs. Or sorry, I'm also picking the Eagles.
Okay.
Meant to say that. I'm picking the Eagles, but
Yeah.
I don't have a score quite yet. I'll put that on social media or something. We got 2 weeks for me to brainstorm and think about that. But the reason why I think the Eagles are going to win this is number one, I don't think the officiating is going to be as fishy because I think if the point is that you want the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl, it doesn't really matter if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl or not. If there is some kind of intention to benefit the Chiefs, I think you're going to see I hope you see a cleanly officiated game. Now there was that call 2 years ago that we won't talk about. I actually asked Mike Trout about that one time.
Really?
Yeah, he was jogging by at spring training 2 years ago, and I said, should they have called holding on that play in the Super Bowl? And he's like, no. I can't. Or was it? Which way was it? Was it that they should have? What did it? Were the Chiefs on defense or the Eagles on defense? I
No,
don't even remember.
the Chiefs had the ball tie game
Yeah, and
on
they
the
called
edge of
holding.
field goal range, and it was a third down play overthrew the receiver,
Yeah.
and they called the hold on Bradbury, and then they get in field goal range, and the Eagles don't get the ball back.
Yeah, so I asked Mike as he was jogging by, I said, should they have called holding? And he said, no, you can't call that. Come on.
Yeah.
That's
Let them
what he
play.
said.
Let the kids play.
Let the kids play. So I think that's a factor. And the other thing is, it's incredibly difficult to beat a team in a championship consecutively. Now, granted, the Chiefs didn't play them last year, but I mean, look at Alabama and Clemson play each other, and then they kind of alternated between who won those games. And then, we had that happen with the Cavs and the Warriors too. It happens a lot. You could go back to the 80s with the Lakers and the Celtics. I think Magic Johnson was tweeting about this years ago, where it's just really, really hard to beat a team in the championship 2 times in a row. So if the Chiefs are able to do that, I mean, this is an absolute dynasty. This is a juggernaut. But yeah. I'm gonna side with Philly here.
Okay, I love it. See, I mean, hey, look, you got a little introduction to the Philly scene. You're writing a couple articles for the Inquirer, so
yeah,
you got a rep for an adopted city right there. But
I can't. It's hard. I don't think I'd be welcome back if I picked against them.
Right, I'm telling you. I'm thinking about this will be the 4th time that the Eagles are in the Super Bowl in my lifetime. The first time in 2004. I was really young. I wasn't as big of a football fan then. I'm watching the game, but I'm not as into the ins and outs of the game and all that. But the last 3 times, that's all been within the last 7-8 years. I think this is by far the most talented roster that they're bringing into a Super Bowl. This is an incredibly good defense. I mean, there really aren't any holes on the defensive side of the ball right now. And they may get Brandon Graham back as just an extra addition for the Super Bowl. I mean, right now, offensively, Saquon's the best running back in the sport, and he's having arguably the best season we've ever seen from a running back. I mean, he needs 31 yards to set the all-time rushing record for a single full season, regular season and postseason. The offensive line has been absolute nails all season. They are a little bit banged up on the line. That's a big storyline as well, Dickerson and Juergens. But receiver-wise, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they complement each other so well. Solid tight end play. And Hurts, he looks healthy, and I think he's playing his best ball at the right time. So, and special teams, they just continue to get it done. Elliott may be a little bit shaky, but special teams coverage, they've been great. So very few holes on this roster right now.
So I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a great game. I think I'm a little more in on this than some people are. I think some people are like, oh, man, I don't want to watch. And I know some people were like that with the World Series. But people are still going to watch it regardless. Yeah. It's the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I'm excited. I look forward to it. One thing that I am very much looking forward to, and maybe you have to temper my expectations here, Chicago Bears, new head coach. It's no longer Matt Eberflus. It's no longer Thomas Brown. It is the highly coveted Ben Johnson. Do I need to pump the brakes on anything here, or do I have the right to be excited about this one?
Look, normally I would say maybe pump the brakes a little bit, but at the same time, as a Bears fan, you have been through so much pain throughout your lifetime and so much disappointment. what's it going to hurt to get overly excited about this and think that this is the answer? And then if it's not, well, you've dealt with the disappointment before, so you know how to handle it. It's not like you're not used to this and you're going to get overly excited and then it's going to backfire and you're like, wow, I've never felt this before. No. So, I mean, even me as a Philly sports fan, I'm used to disappointment in a lot of senses. But you as a Bears fan, look, I don't think there's any reason why you can't be overly excited and hype and think that, this combination, Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson, is the answer to all Bears fans' prayers. So I think they have a guy who is, he's young. He's going to bring that energy. He's going to, attract, I think, new fans in a sense. He's going to be open to new ideas that are going to take this team to a new level, a level that they haven't been at in a while. So, hey, man, go nuts. I think you guys got the right guy with him. And I think that pairing with Caleb Williams, there's a lot to like.
I think the one thing that you could say is that there are a lot of guys who are great coordinators who are not great head coaches. It's a different job. Can you be a leader of men? You hear that term thrown around a lot. But I think that, everything I heard was that this was the guy that everybody wanted. It was evident by the fact that everyone was waiting for the Lions to lose the playoff game. He quickly gets hired. And then once he landed, then all the teams pivoted to their plan B.
Mm-hmm.
And Brady was courting him while getting ready for a playoff game. This isn't just a Bears fan thing. This is the journalism thing in me. I think Tom Brady has to make a decision if he wants to own a team or call games, because I think his ownership stake is about 400 million.
Mm-hmm.
And Fox is paying him 375 million. It doesn't sit right with me that Fox is essentially paying for him to own the Raiders.
Yeah. No, it's really not right. He has to make a decision. I don't even know that he really wants to call games. I think it was almost like he retired. Like... Fox was like, here's a lot of money to sit up in the booth and talk about your career and all that. Everybody knows who you are and loves you. You're going to make us a lot of money. And he's like, all right, sure. Like, I mean, what else do I have to do? But yeah, I mean, make a decision. I think it seems like he would much rather be in on that Raiders gig and be an owner, because why else would he have gotten into it this quickly? And why is he that involved as a minority owner or part owner, whatever? But yeah, it makes for a better broadcast when you don't have that conflict of interest or that something that has to hold him back. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that Brady was courting Ben Johnson the way he was, I think you have to feel good about, as the Bears, that you got him instead. I thought as soon as the Lions lost that game, Brady was going to fly downstairs, knock on the locker room door and be like, hey, here's the contract. Can you sign this real quick?
He might have done that too. He might have done it. It didn't work. The fact that the Bears were able to sell this guy on the future of their organization, and he's making quick work with his coordinators, his coaching staff. He brought on Antoine Randall. The Lions, their coaching staff is just going to get pillaged here. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like the window isn't going to be open for too long. Like, it's so hard to replace coordinators and coaches. They had two coordinators that were highly sought after, had 4 head coaching jobs. You lose both those guys, and they are, then they're going to bring they're going to bring coaches with them from that staff. So now Dan Campbell has to replace coaches. And it also kind of feels like the ceiling is capped a little bit by Jared Goff, too.
Yeah, and just off the topic of the coordinators, it happened with the Eagles. They get to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They lose it to the Chiefs. Sirianni loses both his offense and defensive coordinators to the Cardinals and the Colts. And the next season, the coaching staff was probably the biggest weak link in the organization. And then this year, he gets Fangio and Kellen Moore in there and some other pieces, of course, on the team, but it completely turns it around. So that's not nothing that you mentioned about the coordinators. But I think Ben Johnson's going into a good situation because now I don't know a ton about the Bears ownership and all that, but it doesn't seem like there's too much toxicity in that sense. Like you look at a team like the Cowboys, it's all toxicity with Jerry Jones. The Jets, same thing with Woody Johnson. Even the Raiders a little bit with the whole Davis family and just, the royalty of the Davis family, coming down the pipeline. Like, I don't think Ben Johnson's entering a situation like that where it's going to be toxic. I think they're going to let him do his thing and, turn a page and say, hey, look, this is how we're going to do it. This is the modern NFL. Just let me and Caleb cook together and we're good.
Let's go. I love it. Yeah, I think that I wouldn't call it toxicity with the Bears ownership. I think there are other decisions they're poor decisions that are made.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like they're almost too nice, like they let people stay for too long.
Yeah.
But it's not toxic. I think it'd probably be a good place to work if you're looking for a job.
Yeah, and that makes such a difference with these jobs. Like, again, Cowboys, Jets, Raiders, all three have had incredibly big issues over the last couple decades, and the one common denominator is ownership. So I think Johnson's in a good spot, and the fact that Caleb Williams is on that rookie contract, that's huge. They've got a 3 or 4 year window now where they can spend a lot of money on the rest of the roster and have potentially a top 10 NFL quarterback talent-wise and production-wise not getting paid a lot of money.
A lot of people thought that from a national landscape, I think they thought that Caleb didn't have a very, very good rookie year. He had the best rookie season in Bears history. He was the first quarterback to start all 17 games in a season. All of the games in a season, because we've only been doing 17 for a few years now, since Jay Cutler. And, he's the best talent I've seen at this position for this franchise in my lifetime. He nearly threw for 4,000 yards. He would have become the first Bears quarterback to ever do that. So there's a lot of positives, I think, coming away from this season, despite how poorly the team played and how bad their offensive line was, how bad their defense got after Eberflus got fired. I'm positive about this. And I also like the Dennis Allen defensive coordinator hire as well.
Yeah, for the Bears, I think it's three things. And this is kind of the recipe for any team trying to, go from a situation like the Bears are in to championship caliber. Stability on the coaching staff, shore up the offensive line for a young star quarterback, and make sure you got some pieces on defense. And then all of a sudden you're a playoff contender.
He's Michael Marcantonini. You can follow him where?
So you can follow me at Mic'd Up Sports on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Instagram, and TikTok. I post a lot on Instagram and Twitter. Really trying to lean more into TikTok. I know, Jack.
Yeah, we're gonna get that TikTok
strides
going
on TikTok, so I'm trying to do the same.
We're gonna get that TikTok going. It'll be good. And is there anything else that people should be on the lookout from you in the future?
Yeah, I mean, the goal for me is, obviously we spent the whole show talking football, which was so much fun because I don't get to do that very often. But Jack, at the top of the show, I am a play-by-play broadcaster, mainly in professional baseball, also college sports. So February and March will be pretty busy with doing some D1 college sports in the Philly area. And then another year of minor league baseball, the voice of the Aberdeen Ironbirds in Aberdeen, Maryland, in the Baltimore Orioles organization. So should be another exciting season there with all the talent in the O's organization and all the promise. But hey, man, like we're all trying to do, just keep moving up, keep getting noticed, and work towards those ultimate career goals. And I'm fighting my way to the big leagues. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it someday.
I feel you. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today, pal. Always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, Jack, I really appreciate you having me on. This was a ton of fun. Always love talking ball of any kind, but getting a chance to talk some football and talk about my birds, this was cool, man.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, man.
All right, y'all. That was a very fun, jam-packed episode of the podcast today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was great speaking with Vernon, talking with Michael. It was a lot of fun getting a chance to talk a little football. It's been a little while since we've talked some football on this show. We'll be back again soon. We'll have more interviews. We're going to have more coverage of sports and what's going on in the world of sports. We're really not that far away from spring training and baseball season, so we'll have you covered all the way through there. Make sure you guys hit subscribe here to the Jack Vita Show on YouTube or wherever it is that you get your podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Hit subscribe. You can follow me on social media at Jack Vita Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And until next time, I'm Jack Vita. Bring in the dancing lobsters.